Hey everyone! Today we're going to tackle one of the most useful punctuation marks out there and also one of the most misused, the parentheses. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to use them to make your writing super clear and stylish instead of just, cluttered. So let's dive right in. So, you know that feeling, right? You're writing a sentence, it's flowing nicely, but then you've got this little extra bit of info you need to add. Maybe it's a date, or a quick explanation, or just a little side comment. How do you stick that in there without making the whole thing a total mess? It's a problem we all run into. Okay, let's look at this monster of a sentence. I mean, technically this stuff in the parentheses is related, but whoa, it is a mouthful. It just completely derails the main point, doesn't it? This is exactly what you shouldn't do. It's like trying to cram a whole paragraph into a little side note. Way too much information, all in the wrong spot. And here's what's so cool about fixing this. The best solution isn't some fancy punctuation trick. Nope, it's just better writing. Look at this revised version. It's so much cleaner, right? Get straight to the point. And this really drives home the #1 rule for parentheses. They're for short, helpful little asides, not for stuffing in a whole backstory. All right, so if that's what not to do, what are parentheses actually for? Let's talk about how you can turn them into your secret weapon for making your writing crystal clear. Okay, the basic idea is super simple. Parentheses, these round brackets, always come in a pair. You've got an opener and a closer, and their whole job is to set aside a little extra info that's helpful but not totally essential to the main sentence. I love this analogy. Think of it like you're leaning in and whispering a little side note to your reader. So, to really get good at this, you gotta know what they can do. Let's check out the main jobs parentheses have in your writer's toolkit. And here they are. You can use them to clarify something, pop in an afterthought, explain an acronym, which is a big one, provide some extra context, add some data, or even just toss in a quick little interjection. They're way more versatile than you might think. Let's see some examples. Okay, check this one out for clarifying. The professor said on time, which is pretty clear, but adding without exceptions or excuses, that just slams the point home. There is zero room for confusion. It's like a little punch of emphasis that doesn't mess up the flow. And this is a classic afterthought. The main idea is simple. The meeting ended abruptly. Why? Well, the power went out. That's good to know, but it's extra info. The parentheses just let you tuck that little explanation in there perfectly. Oh yeah, you see this one all the time, especially in more formal writing. It's a simple rule of the road. The very first time you use an acronym, you spell out the whole thing, and then pop the acronym in parentheses right after it. After that, you're good to go with just NASA. It's just standard procedure for being clear. Here's another big one, adding context, like a citation. If you've ever written a paper for school, you know this move. The main sentence makes the big claim, and then the parentheses cleanly slip in the source. It's a super efficient way to give credit and show where your info came from, all without wrecking the flow of your argument. All right, so we know what parentheses do. Now let's get into the tricky part, the bit that messes people up all the time. How do they work with other punctuation, like periods? It seems complicated, but trust me, we're going to make this super simple. So here's rule #1, the one you'll use 99% of the time. If your little parenthetical thought is just a part of a bigger sentence, the period goes at the very, very end, outside the parentheses. See? And what's interesting is, for this one, both American and British English agree. The period finishes the whole sentence. But, and this is the big exception you have to remember, what if the entire sentence is inside the parentheses? Well, then the punctuation stays inside with it. Look here, the period is inside. Why? Because the whole thing is a complete standalone thought. It's its own little world. And this exact same logic works for question marks and exclamation points too. Just ask yourself one simple question. What part of the sentence is getting the punctuation? In this example, the excitement is about setting the record, the whole idea. So the exclamation point goes all the way at the end, outside. And here's the flip side. If the punctuation only applies to the stuff inside the parentheses, then it stays inside. Since the question mark here is linked to the phrase or come in second, it stays inside with it. Makes sense, right? It all comes down to what part of the sentence the punctuation belongs to. Okay, so now you know the technical rules, but here's where we get into the real art of writing. When should you use parentheses versus, say, a comma or a dash? This is all about style and the exact feeling you want to create for your reader.
It really all comes down to tone. I want you to think about it like this. Parentheses, they're like a quiet whisper, a little aside just for the reader. Dashes, that's more like a dramatic shout. Bam! You're forcing the reader to pay attention. And commas, they're just a smooth, natural part of the sentence's flow. Picking the right one for the job, well, that's what makes writing really powerful.
And this leads me to maybe the single most important tip of all. Please use some restraint. Just because you can toss in a parentheses doesn't mean you should. If you overuse them, your writing starts to look messy and it just distracts the reader. Remember that horrible sentence we started with? The goal is always, always clarity. You're writing for your reader, so make it easy for them. All right, before we finish up, let's settle one last big point of confusion. It's the final showdown, parenthesis versus brackets. You know, they're sharper, more square-looking cousins. They might look kind of similar, but trust me, they do totally different things. Here is the absolute simplest way to remember the difference. Use parentheses for your own little side comments inside your own sentences. Use brackets, the square ones, when you're quoting someone else and need to insert your own words into their quote, maybe to clarify something. So parentheses are your asides. Brackets are for editing a quote. Got it? So there you have it. Parentheticals are so much more than just a piece of punctuation, right? They're a tool that gives you control. You can guide your reader's focus, adding those little whispers of information right where they're needed most. So next time a sentence starts feeling clunky, don't just force it. Write smarter. Now that you know the rules, what's the first sentence you're going to go clarify?